Darkness. A void that consumes all light, leaving only fear and uncertainty. It clung to the ancient land of Transylvania, wrapping the village in a shroud of mystery and dread. Whispers of a creature, a monster, echoed through the ages. Dracula. His name sent shivers down the spines of those who dared to speak it. His name spoken with fear, a whisper in the night. A name that carried the weight of countless horrors and untold stories. Villagers spoke of a castle, high upon a mountain shrouded in mist. A place where the air was thick with foreboding, a place of evil, where the sun dared not shine. The castle stood as a monument to darkness, its walls echoing with the cries of the damned. They said he lived there, Dracula, a figure cloaked in shadow, watching, waiting, a creature of the night, feeding on the blood of the living. His thirst was unquenchable, his hunger insatiable. Few dared to go near the castle, the path was deserted. A silent warning to all who approached. Those who did were never seen again. They vanished without a trace, swallowed by the darkness, lost to the night, taken by the darkness that was Dracula. His presence was a curse, a blight upon the land. The legend lived on, a chilling tale whispered around flickering candlelight, each retelling more terrifying than the last. Beware the shadows, for Dracula might be listening, his ears attuned to every whisper, his eyes watching from the darkness. Jonathan Harker, a young solicitor, received a summons to Transylvania. His destination, Castle Dracula. The letter was cryptic, filled with urgency and mystery. Jonathan couldn't shake off the feeling of unease as he prepared for his journey. The carriage lurched along the rough road. Each jolt echoed the growing dread in Jonathan's heart. The path was treacherous, winding through dense forests. He arrived at the castle as night fell. The gates loomed before him, iron and imposing. Jonathan hesitated, feeling the weight of the moment. A towering silhouette against the stormy sky, it exuded a palpable aura of dread. Lightning flashed, illuminating the castle's menacing facade. An unsettling silence greeted him. The castle's corridors were empty, the halls abandoned. Each step echoed through the vast, silent spaces. The castle door creaked open, revealing a tall figure. Pale skin, piercing eyes, a chilling smile. Count Dracula. His voice was like velvet, smooth yet laced with an underlying coldness. He welcomed Jonathan with an unsettling grace. Days turned into weeks. Jonathan felt increasingly uneasy. The Count's eyes held a strange, hypnotic quality. His movements swift and silent, like a predator stalking its prey. Jonathan noticed the Count's aversion to sunlight, his strength at night, the strange puncture marks on his own neck. Fear turned to terror. He was trapped with a monster. One night, Jonathan made a horrifying discovery. He found the Count in the castle's catacombs, not sleeping but lying atop a coffin, filled with earth. The Count turned, his eyes blazing with fury. He was not a man but something else entirely. Fangs bared, he lunged at Jonathan. Jonathan recoiled, his blood running cold. The Count, seeing his terror, laughed, a chilling, empty sound that echoed through the tomb-like silence of the castle. In that moment, all doubt vanished. Jonathan knew the truth. He was at the mercy of a monster, a creature of the night, a vampire. Section 5. A Prisoner of the Night. In the heart of the Carpathian Mountains, Jonathan found himself ensnared in a nightmare. Fear became Jonathan's constant companion. Every creak of the ancient castle, every whisper of the wind, sent shivers down his spine. He was a prisoner in the castle, at the mercy of the Count and his 3 eerie brides. Their presence was a constant reminder of his peril. Their beauty was unsettling, their eyes filled with a predatory hunger. Days bled into weeks, and the line between reality and nightmare blurred. Jonathan was weakening, his hope dwindling with each passing hour. The once vibrant man was now a shadow of his former self, consumed by despair. The Count grew stronger, his hold over Jonathan tightening. The vampire's power seemed to grow with each drop of Jonathan's blood. He knew he had to escape. The thought of freedom was the only thing keeping him sane. But the castle doors were locked, the windows barred. Every exit was sealed, every path to freedom blocked. And even if he escaped the castle walls, he was trapped in a land where superstition and fear reigned. The villagers spoke in hushed tones of the Count's dark powers. Jonathan clung to the hope of escape, but the shadow of the Count loomed large. The vampire's presence was a constant, oppressive force. He was losing himself in the darkness, his will slowly being consumed by the vampire's power. Each day, the line between Jonathan and the shadows grew thinner, his spirit fading into the abyss. Section 6. Jonathan's daring escape. One night, desperation fueled a daring plan. As the Count and his bride slept, Jonathan made his move. He climbed the treacherous castle walls, clinging to the cold stone. The wind howled around him, threatening to rip him from his precarious hold. Jonathan reached the highest tower, his heart pounding in his chest. Below him, the ground seemed miles away, but fear was a distant echo compared to the terror that awaited him within the castle walls. He jumped, the world a blur as he plummeted towards the earth. He survived, broken and battered but alive. He had escaped the clutches of Dracula. Section 7. The shadow spreads. Jonathan's escape was only the beginning. The nightmare was far from over. Dracula had left the castle, his sights set on a new hunting ground, London. Unseen, he travelled aboard a ship, a phantom menace hidden in a cargo of coffins. With him he carried the curse of the undead. News reached Jonathan of strange happenings in London. Unexplained deaths, victims drained of blood, whispers of a dark figure stalking the night. The description chilled him to the bone. Dracula had arrived. Section 8. The hunt begins. Jonathan knew he couldn't stay silent. He had to act. He had to stop Dracula. The fate of everyone he loved depended on it. He joined forces with a small group of brave individuals. Van Helsing, a professor with a knowledge of the ancient lore. Mina, Jonathan's fiancée, her spirit strong despite the growing darkness. The hunt for Dracula had begun, a desperate race against time, a fight against an ancient evil. They knew the stakes were high. The very soul of London hung in the balance. And as the shadows lengthened, they braced themselves for the terrifying confrontation that awaited.